Okay, welcome to a very special world music episode of the StageLeft podcast. On this episode we are joined by the astonishingly gifted experimental guitarist and solo performer Stuart Masters. Stuart will be talking us through his musical journey and telling us how he's evolved as a musician thanks to his ever-broadening interest in musical instruments and composition techniques from different cultures and countries he's played worldwide. Stuart's work combines Indian classical music, Western styles, folk, Celtic influences, as well as contemporary percussive techniques to create a unique hybrid style of playing. Having played both Shanghai and Texas, who better to talk us through how music has been interpreted by different cultures? And for the first time ever on the StageLeft podcast, Stuart will also be performing 2 songs live. Okay, Stuart joins us having just returned from a UK and Ireland tour as one of 3 members of the Fingerstyle Collective. How's it going, Stuart? How was the tour?
I'm great, thanks, Chris. Thanks for that intro. That was very complimentary.
There we go. Absolutely deserved. So how was the tour?
It was great. It was. It took us a long way. I think we ended up clocking up about 1,700 miles.
Really?
And we went to Ireland for the first time, which was incredible. Because obviously there's a really vibrant music scene throughout Ireland. That's like an understatement, really.
Yeah.
So we did Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland. We went to Belfast, which was one of the highlights, really, because that's a really musical city. And then up to Pitlochry, which was just stunningly beautiful. There's a festival theatre there, we played there.
Really?
And then all the way back home again, and then finished off with Cambridge Junction, where we've been a few times before, so it was nice to get back there. The energy that we get from different audiences, especially in the bars in Ireland, it just makes you play differently. So it really is a kind of like a relationship, a two-way thing. So, you
seem to play. I've seen you kind of at the art centre style gigs, and you're right. It's a very knowledgeable audience, I'd say. For people are going there for a particular thing, and they're often very, very spellbound. I've not seen you play in a bar, and that does interest me. A bar in Ireland, how you would go down that. You're right. That must be a bit of a challenge.
Well, there's this really great place called Cobblestone Joe's in Limerick.
Yeah. I'm going to Limerick in October. Is it good?
It's fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
The only thing you need to know...
What's the bar called?
Cobblestone Joe's.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've had loads of great people there. But the thing you need to know as an Englishman is that everything kicks off at 9:30.
Right.
And we didn't even know that till we got there. We booked all these gigs. This is probably a horrible generalisation. Yeah. But people were telling us, the sound guys were like, oh no, it says 8 o'clock, but it doesn't start till 9:30.
Right, oh wow.
So, it was a great place. And they're actually there to listen.
Cool.
I've only played one other place that was in Stroud, like down kind of in the west of England, where it's like a pub. And you think, oh, okay, fair enough. Going to be a bit of background music here, but the people are there to hear, and you just think, okay, they go buy a pint of local ale, and sit down and they listen.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like that in Cobblestone Joe's. It's a cool place.
Great, I'll make sure I pop in.
Yeah.
And how did you get? So the Fingerstyle Collective is 3 musicians doing kind of some of their solo work, I believe, and kind of you collaborate on the evening as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so how did you find the other 2 guys? How did that actually come about? The 3 of you playing together?
Well, we were all in Shanghai to play. It was called an International Fingerstyle Festival, I think was what it was called. It was a festival anyway.
Wow.
It was pretty incredible. And Dan, who's a harp guitarist, he's from New Jersey, and he said, well, why don't we try and do something in the UK? Because I was just saying how all the venues are reasonably close together, because the UK is a small place. You only have to drive another couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours, and you've got somewhere else to play.
Yeah.
Whereas the US is like, you could travel days between venues, or you often have to fly. But so me, Dan, and Don Alder. Don Alder's a Canadian guitarist, and as I said, Dan's from New Jersey, and he kind of specialises in harp guitar, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we met there and said, let's do it, and we did it. And this is the 3rd time now, I think. 3rd time that we've done it.
And what was Shanghai like? I mean, what was the festival like? Did you get to play any other gigs in Shanghai, or what was the crowd like there? Was it particular people from the area, or people travelled around the world to go to the festival?
Well, it was interesting because it was hard to read the audience because they're obviously music fans. There's a well-known Korean guitarist called Sung Ho Jung, who's there were a lot of people were there for him,
right?
And he's great. He's a lovely guy. And so yeah, the audience it's hard to read them because it's a completely different culture. But yeah, so it was a real varied audience, but a very specific style of music, which is not really what I'm used to playing to. So it's quite nerve-wracking because they're watching every single technique that you're playing.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And
under the microscope a bit, yeah?
Yeah. But no, they're incredibly respectful audience. And then afterwards, it's over in the UK and to some extent, I think, in the US. Not so much in Europe, funnily enough, in kind of mainland Europe. But they want to meet you afterwards and speak to you, and
nice.
And you get to like, sign their belts and weird things like that.
Really?
Which is like really flattering, but
surreal.
Yeah, cool.
Keep this feeling, keep on this feeling in my arms. Keep this feeling, keep on this feeling.
What were you trying to achieve when you first played guitar? Why did you want to play the guitar?
I wanted to, first of all, to sound like Mark Knopfler. I wanted to be Mark Knopfler when I was probably about 7.
Really? Excellent.
And then it was Mike Oldfield.
Right, okay, wow.
And I was just...
How old are you when you were into Mike Oldfield?
Probably about 9 or 10.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
He's not an artist that most like 9 or 10-year-olds who kind of
No, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Wow, that's incredible.
But my dad had a pretty impressive vinyl collection.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
He used to design some covers for some pretty kind of key albums in the 60s, 70s, yeah, like some John Martin and stuff.
Really? Okay.
So he ended up, just for a short period, but he had an incredible vinyl collection, and Mike Oldfield, I think it was probably Tubular the Bells.
Tubular the Bells.
It has to be that, doesn't it?
As a 7 or 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I just thought, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then I started trying to, what I was writing was probably terrible, but I just started trying to write these really basic kind of like chord things on one tape recorder, and then I'd play it back, and then get another tape recorder going, and then play over the top of it.
Wow.
And obviously the sound quality got like worse and worse and worse the more tape recorders you were using, but I just tried to kind of create my own stuff, my own kind of layered stuff, like a 4-track, but with just 2 tape recorders.
That's beautiful. There's something like naive about it, obviously, because you were young, but obviously you experimented, and that's not that far off, and how a lot of recording music started. Recording. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Okay, and so how did then that develop? I mean, I met you probably, I was trying to work out the other day, I reckon probably about 2002, 2003, and then you were playing, would it have been about then?
Maybe a bit before then.
Was it a bit before then, do you reckon?
Maybe 2001.
Okay, alright. So, you were playing a band then, Lizard Called Me, you'd been in another band before called Firefly, and when I first met you, you kind of very quick became known on the circuit locally as being someone who was actually quite a bluesy guitarist, but really accomplished, and that's quite far removed from where you are now in regards to the style.
I guess it is, yeah.
I'm really interested in how that kind of the bridge between kind of where you were in 2001, 2002 to where you are now. You were in Lizard Called Me for how many years?
Probably, I guess 3 years.
Yeah, great bass player. Then absolutely.
And drummer.
And drummer as well. So you then obviously went solo, and you did an album. The first album was called One Last Look Around. How did you approach that now that you didn't have musicians around you, a drummer and a bassist, just being on your own? How did you approach that with a blank sheet?
I was in a band, and it was basically a rock band, I suppose, really. And every now and then we couldn't make a gig, and I'd just have to play the songs, which I'd often written on acoustic guitar. Yeah, I have to play them on acoustic guitar. And you're right, it was quite bluesy. And some of the tracks that are on One Last Look Around, I played with the band, with the full band. I think maybe 2 or 3, I can't remember. But they were bluesy, but then blues is folk music. And I think there's a kind of like, you can kind of segue between sort of like blues and even English folk and Irish folk. It's like, I mean, if you think about like country and kind of like bluegrass and that sort of thing, you can really see like the Irish, or the kind of like British influence kind of going on, even though that's like the most American kind of music you can get. Yeah, and it's obviously got that blues country thing going on too. So I think that's pretty much what happened for me. I started with the blues thing, and I think it was kind of quite a conscious decision. I got very much into Jeff Buckley when I was about 17, 18. And then that's probably, and Nick Drake as well, that's probably what moved me away from the heavy blues influence, the heavy sort of alternative. I guess it was like blues rock, rock blues. And I just kind of felt like we had a great run with the band, and we would just play. There's this Muse line from their first album, I've played in every toilet. I can't remember which one it is, but I'm assuming that's referring to like the toilet venues.
Yeah.
As opposed to anything else we might not want to go into. But
Muscle Museum, I think.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And it felt like that, really. You know, the scene was. There were so many bands, there's so many places to play, and it was really vibrant. But there was a sense of just like, where do we go from here? And, and the A&R guys weren't really coming out anymore.
No, that's right.
And the bottom, it felt like the bottom was falling out of the industry. I didn't realise it. We didn't realise it at the time. We just decided to pull up stumps. I don't think creative acts were really being picked up as much as they used to anymore. But then also in a positive way, because the internet opened up a whole new world of things for independent artists, and MySpace came along and that kind of thing. So I just thought, well, you know what? Who knows what's going to happen? I feel like this is something that I need to do.
And it's a very different sound to what you had when you were in Listen Call Me. Certainly not so bluesy or certainly not rocky. Actually, I don't know if you're aware of this. When you on iTunes, it's listed as country and folk.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
Yeah, but so it just gives you an example that is a little different, even though I don't think it is country. But now you're going to play a song off this album for us.
Yeah, sure.
What song is it you're going to play?
It's called Shake the Dust Off.
Stone tender, I unfold into your arms again. Like a feather falls the farthest way down. But there's no use asking you to stay for too long. Lines have changed, I like to accordingly. I'll shake the dust off as your waves collect my very soul and all sorrow. Fragments short again will make a whole. You'll shake the dust off. Tear the fabric for some new design on me. Collect the thread, there's nothing that is too far gone to bleed. Call again and leave us with a trace of what's gone. Call a new rock burning into space to pour out light to eyes as your waves collect my very soul and all sorrow. Fragments short again will make a whole. You'll shake the dust off as your waves collect this very soul and all sorrow.
Okay, Shake the Dust Off by Stuart Masters. Beautiful performance there, thanks Stu.
Thank you.
From there you then met Rishi Ranjan, is that right? And that
That's
kind of
right.
put you through into a new world of music in many ways. I know that you were quite influenced by kind of Indian culture anyway before that, but I think that was kind of accentuated when you met Rishi.
Definitely.
And you recorded an album with him. It was part of his Global Peace project. And so what were you learning from these instruments that you were then adapting to your own music? You know, if you get into the specifics of it, have you got any examples that
Definitely. Well, I could think of a few things off the top of my head. I mean, so the first thing would be just using notes that you don't expect. First of all, that was getting a bit musical, but you know, when you get major and minor chords, essentially kind of like, it's oversimplifying, but happy and sad chords. You know,
but that's not, they're not necessarily, that's in Western music. You get happy and sad, and it's interpreted very different worldwide, isn't it?
Exactly, and in fact, in Indian classical music, I mean, I hope I'm not making like a blunder by saying this, but I'm pretty sure that there's essentially no harmony. There are no chords. It's all about melody and rhythm. So you got drum, you have tabla, and you have a solo instrument, and sometimes you have duets and stuff like that. But any harmony you get, so basically any two notes happening at once, are kind of incidental. Usually in strict Indian classical, there, you know, it's all about exploring. So we've got, you know, Western music. We've got used to like 3 scales basically: major, minor, which is from classical, and pentatonic. That's a way oversimplifying it, but kind of just generally, pentatonic is like what you get in blues music and so much, like pretty much all pop music. So much of it is got pentatonic going on, but with Indian music you got 10 scales, and from those 10 scales there are various rules applied that could make thousands of ragas, which are compositions which basically they're not set in stone. You can't write it down. It's just like you get to know and I've only scratched the surface of this, and that's when I realised I was out of my depth. But you know, there are characters of these ragas, and they're played at certain times of the day, and you take certain paths around these notes. You kind of like almost like a river, kind of running over rocks, kind of in that kind of thing, and the order of those notes creates a certain feeling and a certain kind of ambience, and that's the major difference, I think.
But those feelings don't necessarily translate emotionally the same way as they might be intended by the composer. So I've got an example of this. So Borkwell and Thompson did a cross-cultural investigation into how music is perceived by different people around the world, and they asked Indian musicians to play to 15 Westerners, and they were going to play 4 ragas. And one was to convey joy, one was anger, one was sadness, and one was peacefulness. And the Westerners had to guess which piece of music is which, and all of them failed. Which is like a really kind of good example of kind of human conditioning almost, you know. So it's really interesting. And obviously you're saying you were scratching the surface there, but how did you then adapt that and what you learn, what you were tapping into your own music?
The biggest difference between that I've encountered between Western music and, I mean, I've kind of looked a little bit into Arabic music. I don't play oud, but I have an oud, and I play it like a guitarist would play an oud. Right. Okay. But because I played an oud is it's like the grandfather of the guitar. Right. It's like it's a bit like a lute. Yeah. It doesn't have frets, so you have to basically know where to put your fingers. So playing the violin really helped with that. Yeah. But I don't know a lot about Arabic kind of classical music, but it's very similar in that we have so few notes that we traditionally use in the West, and in other parts of the world you get like quarter tones, you get like notes. I can't even get my head, I can't even approach this musically as a musician, but notes that are just slightly out from what we hear. So as a Westerner, you hear it and you think, he's playing out of tune, or you know, what's she singing, that's not quite right. But it's because it's just completely out of our experience. It's not something we're used to. What we hear as being in tune is different. I've got a friend as well called Italian guitarist called Virtuoso. I hope he always criticises the way I say his name. But he tunes to 432 hertz. Right. So A is, in scientific terms, the I don't know which A it is, but there's an A that's 440. 440 hertz. Right, yeah. And I'm probably going to I'm probably not going to quite get this right, but 432 hertz, I think, supposed to be more common as a reference point in nature. That vibration you get more in nature.
Really?
And I mean, I don't tune to that, but we did a little collaboration. I had to tune for that, and it does feel different. But so there's another guy I know called Ben Powell, who's an awesome guitarist based in Bath, and he tunes to that as well. And we were doing this little collaboration backstage before we played a gig, and he tunes to that, and I tuned to 440, and we were trying to play along, and something really weird was happening. It was like being on like LSD for the ears. It was like this kind of weird, what's going on? Like we were just slightly out of tune with each other.
Wow.
And that just tiny amount just messes it up completely. So,
gosh,
we're so conditioned to hear a certain thing, a certain group of notes or whatever, that
I think we feel this kind of superiority in our music, that we think this is how it is and everything else isn't right. But there's so many examples around the world. If you look at, there was a study that on complexity of musical styles, and gamelan music scored highest, which is one example. Yeah, that's right. And the other one was Calvinese people don't recognise the same categories of happy and sad as you said, as those do in the West. And the other one that I really liked is, in African cultures, they often will use music to convey quite specific information in like intricate codes, like Morse code. Right. And so you can get situations where there's been situations where an audience have been watching a band and they've had a xylophone player, and during the performance on the xylophone, some of the villagers are kind of bursting into laughter because it's actually the person making a joke about a member of the tribe and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so it just
shows you
the way music is perceived and received.
It's a language. It's got as many languages within music as there are languages themselves.
It's totally crazy, but we kind of live in this kind of bubble, I think, in Western music, listening to Western music. So this is why it's so interesting to get you on. So I think you've got
really quickly. I was just going to say what you just said reminded me of something. The latest Robert Plant album has got a. Don't know. It's an incredible album.
It's an amazing album, isn't it? Yeah. He's really kind of gone to town, going around the world, getting
country and eastern.
Is it really?
But I can't remember the name of the player, and I can't remember the name of the instrument. But it's basically a kind of a spike fiddle.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's like a violin, but and you hear him play on this. I think it's the opening track, maybe. And you think, he's just hit a bum note there. That's not quite right, or he hasn't quite bowed that correctly. And then you hear him do it again, and you think, it's intentional.
Yeah.
And it's obviously kind of like, for me, I was conditioned that this is how you bow, this is how you play classical violin. If I heard that, I would think, he's not played that. That's not right.
Yeah.
But it's obviously there's something going on there that I don't understand because I don't know anything about. I think it's maybe a West African. I don't know which country, but I think it's West Africa. But I don't know anything about West African music at all.
Yeah.
So just goes to show
we're naive, aren't we? In many ways.
Yeah.
To the rest of we can be.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a couple of examples.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the easiest example I can think of is so there's a scale within Indian classical music which I now can't remember the name of, but it doesn't matter. It's within Western music. Mm-hmm. It's not really used in classical that much, but it's called the Lydian mode, and so everyone recognises the major scale because it's from The Sound of Music.
Yeah, okay.
Don't really far so long. Everyone recognises that. So like basically, you change one note, the fourth note, make it one semitone, one note higher, and it's a completely different feel. It's not that much different, but then if I was just to kind of like play something just to show you using that fourth note just slightly sharper, one note different, it just changes. It doesn't sound Western anymore. So anyway, here we go. I might be throwing some other notes in there that shouldn't have been there, but
it's just one note in the major scale.
Yeah,
it's
just one note.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in the other examples you said you had a couple.
So I think we've already sort of talked about it, but the other major difference is that you don't really get Western and classical and jazz and pop to some extent. I mean, all kinds of popular music, whether it's folk or whatever. Often harmony is really complex. Jazz is like the best example of that. You can have sort of like so many notes going on at once, 5, 6, 7 notes making up a chord, and and that is where we have, I think, excelled in the Western musical world. I'm sure there are other examples as well around the world, but you know, that's what we've developed and we've really refined. Indian classical music and other kinds of music, I'm sure, they've explored melody and combinations of notes to an extent that we couldn't even wrap our heads around. Which is why, you know, that study you were talking about, we're not used to. Something conveys happiness, and often I'll play, because I've taught children guitar, you'll play something Indian to them and they'll say, that sounds really scary. And it's not supposed to be scary, it's supposed to evoke a particular time of day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just like, so I think melody is, we have chords in Western music that, you know, and harmony, I guess you'd call it if you're going to be a bit more specific. And that's where we really excel. And you've got, you know, like Bach, you've got counterpoint, you've got lots of melodies weaving around each other. And that's what's so incredible about his music. But they're also creating harmony. They're creating chords all the while. And so, like Bach and Indian classical music, in a sense, couldn't get two more different kinds of languages, different kinds of music. So yeah, chords would be the second thing. We have chords. So many other musical traditions don't.
Just don't. Wow.
Yeah. But you know, we can. It's so easy to sort of think, oh, that's, you know. It's pretty, like, I'm doing quotation marks here in the air now.
Yeah,
you can't see, but that's primitive music. But it's not, you know, it's not primitive.
No, not at all.
It's just we just don't understand it.
Yeah, incredible.
And the only other thing I can say was that, but yeah, Indian classical music, you get beat cycles. So we're used to hearing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 over and over.
4/4.
Yeah, 4/4 exactly. Yeah, or you know, you might get 3/4 or various other ones.
Not on radio. You won't.
No, you won't.
Never make the radio. Yeah, but
except for this is dating me a bit, but Manic Street Preachers, Designed for Life. I think that was in 12/8.
12/8. Yeah. It's rare though, isn't it, to get a song not in 4/4 to be in the charts in Western music? It's just unheard of.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you're aware. I think it might be Greece, but there's one country where 7/8 is their natural dancing rhythm.
Really?
So if you were to play 7/8 to our listeners, if you find a piece of music that was 7/8, maybe I'll cue it in a moment. Actually, if you were to play that at, say, a wedding or a party, people would not know how to dance. It would feel so unnatural. They wouldn't know how to dance. Whereas you play 7/8, I think it's in Greece. That's their kind of natural kind of dancing kind of rhythm.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
There's another thing as well. Mission Impossible, which is 5/4. And what's funny is that the original stayed in 5/4, I think. But then the recent films, it's almost like they start the intro because everyone knows this. But then it gets so unsettling because you're not used to hearing it. It's just like, oh, I don't know, this is making me feel uncomfortable. They end up going. So they turn it 4/4.
Gosh.
Just because it's like for the Hollywood, the Hollywood clientele.
It's weird how people aren't more. Why is it in the West that we must hear 4/4 music, or we only get 4/4 music? We really do have to branch out to go and find it, don't we?
I think, I mean, you do get. I'm going to reference my own album in a very vain way here, but I used 13/8.
Did you?
Yeah, but only just for kind of because that fitted the phrase that was playing. And then I had to fit a vocal melody around just because I wanted it to be a bit. For want of a better word, a bit weird. And you do find examples of it. So, like, there's an incredible album from 2009, Them Crooked Vultures.
Yep.
Do you know them?
Yeah, it's Dave Grohl, Josh Homme, and
John Paul Jones.
Yeah.
And John Paul Jones. And there are lots of different time signatures going on there. But they can take that liberty because they're well-known musicians. People want to listen to them. I went and Rishi said, why don't you go away and write some string parts for it? So I did, and I spent absolutely ages on it. and then Rishi was listening back to it and he said, no, that's wrong. I said, what do you mean it's wrong? But it sounds fine. He said, no, you can't have that note.
Really?
You can't have that note in that scale. And I said, yeah, but if we use that note, it will sound terrible. And then in the end we kind of had to sort of change things around, and we had to actually ditch that track from the album.
Because of that?
Because, yeah.
Oh wow.
What
perfect kind of example of what we're talking about.
Clash of Cultures. He just said, no, that sounds terrible, you can't have that note in there.
And he thought what you played was terrible and you thought the other note was terrible.
Yeah, he said, I'll make it this instead. And I said, no, we can't do that.
Incredible.
I was just sitting in front of the keyboard and I said, no, that's not good, Rishi.
Wow. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example, fantastic. Okay, so then after that album, you then went on to your most recent album, which is Odonata.
Yeah.
It's kind of more conceptual than your first kind of solo album, from my listening. You brought the harp guitar with you today. It's an extraordinary looking thing. We're going to take a photo of it as well and a picture of you with it for our website, because it's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. Tell us, what does that allow you to do, and what does that do that's different to a normal guitar? Obviously you've got 6 extra strings there, or 5? Yeah, 6 extra strings. So it's 12 strings. Could you give us a demonstration?
So the harp guitar has got sub-bass strings. So it's a bit like having a bassist who's pretty limited, because you've only got 6 choices at any one time, so you'd probably tune them to whatever you were playing. But it essentially allows you to add lower notes in. So you could give yourself a bass part if you wanted. So for example. So there, I'm playing. I'm hammering on with the left hand. For guitarist, I'm throwing my hands on with the left hand on the normal part of the guitar, and then I'm just playing the bass strings like it's a bass guitar. So you could do that, or you could basically just kind of pick them out as low notes. Apart from anything, it's such a big instrument that if you try and play something 6-string on it, it can often sound a bit weird. Like, it's nice, but if I try to play. It's actually a bit too much.
Yeah.
Too much going on there. So it does change the sound. But so you could do. I'll just show you an example of just throwing in some bass notes for some chords, and this is hopefully going to be on my next EP. I haven't finished, or maybe album. I haven't decided yet which it's going to be. But this is just an example of throwing in, just adding to your chords, basically. So here we go. Hear that there's some low notes going on there, basically. But you can also just throw them in you can play something really simple on the 6-string, and then throw in a low note, and you've got like this big distance between the notes you're playing. So like.
Wow.
So yeah.
Such a contrast, isn't it?
But it's actually.
There's the resonance as well.
Absolutely,
the resonance while you're playing the higher stuff.
There's a lot on it you can't play on the 6-string, and there's a lot on the 6-string that sounds better on the 6-string.
Yeah.
It's just a different instrument.
And
really.
Are there any songs on Odonata that you use that? I know it was Heart Shaped Box you used it on.
Yeah.
What else?
Heart Shaped Box and Bhakti as well.
It's a beautiful song.
Oh,
Can you play a bit of that? It's my favourite song on the album. Beautiful. My favourite song of the album. Thanks, man. That's a great example. Also using the harp guitar as well. Great stuff. So another thing that you've brought along with you as well as the harp guitar is the Engel.
That's right.
Have I pronounced that right?
Yeah.
And tell us what that is. It's an extraordinary looking thing. Again, I'll take a photo and put it on our website.
Sure.
Tell us what it's a hammer. Is that right?
It's a hammer. It's the first kind of basically hammer that's designed for playing the guitar. And playing instruments with hammers is not unusual, because that's basically what's going on in the piano.
Yeah.
and you've got hammered dulcimers, you've got all kind of other instruments. But yeah, this is kind of the first one really that's come along that's widely available. You can get them on theangle.com.
Right. Okay.
ENGLE. But yeah, it opens up completely different possibilities on the instrument. You can get kind of quite aggressive. I'll just play something aggressive.
Yeah. Great. Wow.
If I played that with my fingers, it would sound like. Hang on. Still sounds alright, but
It's the attack, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, I played it badly just then, but you can hear the difference in sound. It opens up. It's like using an effects pedal.
Yeah. And when do you play that live? Do you use it on what songs do you use that on live?
There's a track called Humbug, which I'm
You
going.
did that at the Union Chapel.
I did, yeah.
And that's on YouTube. I was playing the Union Chapel. It's a beautiful venue there, isn't it?
It was incredible. I was scared out of my wits because so many of my heroes have played there and everything. But the sound there, because I played harp guitar there as well, it just sounded incredible. You don't need to do anything to this. I mean, the sound guy must have been incredibly talented because
it's natural reverb in there, though, isn't it? Natural.
Yeah.
It was a church. It was a chapel, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so I think it still is. Yeah. So for
yeah.
those who aren't aware of the venue, it's a venue in London, in Islington.
Yeah.
And it's a converted chapel that's used for concerts. I've gone to a number of concerts there. Check out the video. We'll put it on the website as well. Playing Humbug, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's really good. And you use the Engel on that one.
That's right. And I was just going to show you one other example as well of just the thing that makes a difference. You can bounce on the strings, and because I'm interested in the oud that I was talking about earlier, the instruments that's the grandfather of the guitar, you can kind of get a little feeling of the oud using this as well. So here we go.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound like guitar, really, does it?
Whole world of possibilities. Yeah. It's just broadening, isn't it? It's just broadening.
Definitely. Different colours to the palette.
Yeah. That's it. Excellent.
But in Shanghai, the audiences there are particularly into kind of the tricks on the guitar, the kind of the right hand techniques, with stuff that's unusual, basically. And they like the kind of the bells and the whistles,
right?
And they're hitting the kind of combining that in with that kind of stuff.
Who doesn't like that? That's amazing. Yeah.
But it seems to be particularly popular there.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff draws in an audience, and but in India, there are things that there's a recording of Ali Akbar Khan, and I really insulted someone by saying, "Didn't he make a mistake there?"
Really?
At the beginning of because the whole piece, the whole recording is important, and and at the very beginning there's this kind of kind of noise, and I said, "That's not right though, is it? He shouldn't have played that." And he said, "No, it's fine. It's part of the performance. What's wrong with that?" So at the moment, and on the new album I record, I'm using a violin bow and it's a cello bow actually, and I'm looping it to create a kind of a drone sort of effect underneath it. And in Indian classical music, they have a passive accompaniment, which basically means that a series of notes are played that just go along with the music, but they're a reference point. They're not chords, and they're actually there's no rhythm.
Right.
Usually going along with the music, it's just someone accompanying the music. So I'm going to try and recreate that on my new recording. But just as a little example of the sort of thing I mean, this is a tampura. I'm saying that wrong. This is the app, an app on a popular smartphone.
Amazing. Beautiful. And that's an app that you've used for the tempora, yeah? Is that right? That's absolutely incredible.
And the actual instruments themselves are huge, and I think they're usually made out of gourds.
Wow.
Well, they're not huge. They're bigger than guitars, and you just got usually it's the student of the master who's playing, just kind of like sitting there listening to them playing, but it's like a really invaluable reference point for the notes in the piece that's being played.
Wow.
But that just conjures up. For us, it conjures up the 60s, doesn't it? And
so this is
the
this app is the student for this master.
Not
yeah, no, you're right. It's very the first thing you think of is with him without you. It's
exactly.
It's the first thing you think of. But actually, talking about that, I don't know if you know that when Ravi Shankar played a gig with George Harrison, I think it was. I know it was at the Madison Square Gardens. I think he supported George Harrison on playing with him.
Bangladesh, right?
Yeah, quite possibly. And I don't know if you're aware that he came on stage and started playing his guitar. For the first couple of minutes, he was doing something on his guitar.
Oh yeah.
And everybody kind of everyone clapped and cheered after a couple of minutes, and then he announced actually he was just tuning it.
Yeah, I think he said something like, "Oh well, if you enjoy the tuning this much, hopefully you'll enjoy the actual playing even more."
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example again of like kind of a misunderstanding sometimes.
And another thing as well, he said he asked everyone to refrain from smoking during the performance and drinking during the performance. Another big cultural difference. It's just like,
of course,
the Woodstock generation. It's kind of embracing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And actually, it's really disrespectful to smoke and drink during not his performance, but because it's not about his performance, it's about the music. And I went to a performance of his in London, which was incredible, and it was at the Barbican, and you couldn't bring your beer in.
Really?
And I was thinking, what's going on here? And I was like, oh yeah, of course.
Wow, incredible. How was that seeing him? What was he like live?
Oh, it was amazing.
It's great that given how much of this music you're kind of embracing now, it's great you had a chance to see Ravi before he sadly passed away.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And you're going to play us out. What song are you going to play us out with?
It's called Around You.
Okay, looking forward to it. Here we go. So this is Stuart Masters playing Around You from Odonata on the StageLeft podcast.
For more episodes featuring musicians who've worked with the likes of Fleetwood Mac, Bob Dylan, The Beatles, Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, The Prodigy, Oasis, go to www.thestageleftpodcast.com, follow us on Twitter at TheStageLeftPod, or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheStageLeftPodcast. See you next time.